but at some point the math is the math.
I think we can do a better job using that information.
It reinforces my belief that I have the best constituents. Hello, Austin. Hello, Clawback viewers. Hello, District 6. Here we are, the getting towards the end of November. We have Thanksgiving coming next week. I think next week we're probably not going to do a live show. We'll see. Maybe we'll have a special surprise for you. But at least this week we have some pretty spectacular guests. Our third time returning guest and Representative John Busey is going to be with us. We have an amazing musician in Barbara Nesbitt, and then Roger Cauvin from the Friends of Austin Neighborhoods is going to join us and talk a little bit about what's been going on. But let's start with the biggest news of the week. You all hopefully have seen it and heard it. We are in stage 4. And you can see all the way on the edge of the chart. Get my mouse on there. This is a bad rate of change, y'all. It's not great. The public health authorities, Dr. Escott, lowered this line. So if you recall in prior episodes, that stage 5 line was higher. But as we've learned more about this and learned more about our hospital capacity, we've lowered that line. So we're inching closer and closer and closer to stage 5. We are in a very precarious and dangerous, frankly, situation. And we have to redouble our efforts to take this seriously. Now, I've shown this chart many times on the show. This is the chart that determines our stage restrictions based on hospitalizations. But I also wanted to show just the new cases reported by day, because there are some folks that are maybe unclear about the danger level of this virus. And when you flip back and forth, you can see it's very clearly this is dangerous. And when new cases go up, there's a related increase in hospitalizations. It's not something to take lightly. And again, if we had a minimally sane and functional federal government for the last year, we would be more on track in keeping ourselves into a better stage while there are vaccines on the horizon. Some very exciting stuff. But let's really redouble our efforts and stay focused. We're entering in a Thanksgiving week. I know there's so much desire to be with friends and family at this time. It is just not worth the risk. Don't let a desire for this Thanksgiving mean you lose future Thanksgivings with friends and family. So everybody take it seriously. Keep your masks. Stay out of these dangerous situations. Of course, you can find all of the guidelines and information and advice on the city's website, as per usual, austintexas.gov/COVID-19. That's the page that looks like this. You can find all of the resources on there, including the stage guidelines, information on the holiday season, other types of closures, what does stage 4 mean, all on the city website. But let's go on to our first guest. You take that off the screen. So glad to have him returning to the show, our favorite guest and friend of the Clawback, Representative John Busey. Hi, John.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for having me back. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming back on the show again. Always a pleasure to have you, friend and personal friend, of course, and not just friend of the show. Congratulations. First off, congratulations on your re-election to the Texas House.
Hey, man, I really appreciate that. I'm so excited to get to keep working to represent House District 136. We've got so much that we have to continue to fight for in this state. I think we all know it. It's obviously COVID and public education, but healthcare and our local issues. And there's just a lot at stake, and we're going to need everyone's help. So the grassroots work continues through the elections. It continues through your reelection, but also continues day to day when we're legislating. We need the community to be with us because there's so much at stake.
You did something that I don't see a lot of state legislators do in the last session. You set up these community advisory groups. I thought it was such a great innovation for the work of a state rep. Are you intending to continue that work into the next session?
In fact, after this, I've got a meeting with our healthcare cab. We call them community advisory boards, our cabs. I'm meeting with the chair of our healthcare one after this meeting. We're working. We're thinking about, obviously Medicaid expansion, something I talk about a lot, but any and all things we can think about with healthcare and what have we learned from the pandemic and how can we make it more accessible. So those conversations are ongoing. But yeah, these are individuals throughout the community from across the partisan divide, from the different geography of the community that want to serve on these advisory boards. Reach out to our office and we'll put you on there. There's healthcare, education, social justice, criminal justice, environment of different topics that we work on.
That's such great work. And, sometimes I think even, Austinites, I think have a special relationship with the legislature because we live with it. But, when you get as far out as Williamson County, it's not quite living with it. It's still a little bit of a distance. So I think it's really great work that you do and bringing House District 136 folks into the process. But what are your thoughts on what this next legislature is going to be like? It's a big question, and I don't expect you to answer it fully. But what are your initial thoughts on heading into the new session?
Well, we did a survey among the members, to see, what did we want to see? And that's not ultimately going to be the final decision. We're going to vote on it. So day 1 and day 2 of session will look somewhat normal. It may not be open to the public. That's up to the governor at that point. But we'll go in, we'll set the rules, and in those rules, we'll define what session will look like. I think what it will look like is it will follow as many safety protocols as possible, wearing masks, temperature checks. I think a lot of the fun, the ceremony will be lost, unfortunately, having the school groups come and perform. I just don't think we're going to have extra people in the building that aren't there for the business, the direct business of the legislature. But I hope and I think we'll still be meeting in person while following the safety guidelines. I think it's essential for us to get the job done and work on the budget, work on the COVID recovery bill that we need to do for the state. And I also think we need to make sure the citizens of Texas get to interact directly with us. So I think committee meetings will still be open to the public. I hope we modernize that and allow virtual testimony along with in-person, again, following the safety measures. So I think we'll have the business feel a little different, but still be normal in the sense that people get to come and participate. I do think, sadly, we'll lose some of the ceremony this time. Having the family, the friends, the constituent groups, the days like the county days that are a big deal, especially when you think about the people that aren't as close that make this a big biannual trip where they come and really get to see what's going on in Austin.
That is really a shame, obviously a necessary precaution. But I often find that those ceremonial events and those types of celebrations also help build relationships across the aisle, that it helps show kind of a common humanity amongst elected officials. When you get into election cycle, there's a lot of push to dehumanize the folks that serve in the legislature. But you've always been a really talented legislator at building those relationships and bringing coalitions together. Do you think under a new speaker that we're going to have some similar work? Are we going to have some productivity out of this legislature?
I absolutely hope so. Last time House Bill 3 was a big deal, and that was helping our public schools. And it took getting the body closer together. So it took electing, new Democrats and making, even though we're still in the minority, it's a lot closer divide. And I think when we're closer, then we're able to compromise and get more work done. So I feel confident that we still have that same margin. And the Senate got even more to the middle a little bit, broke the supermajority of the Republicans. Pushing everyone to the middle, I think, will help us get more done. So I feel confident. The budget's going to be a challenge. So I think really what we need to do is make sure we don't go backwards on our public education gains, and then hopefully get something truly done on healthcare. And I think there's a lot of bipartisan talk going on about broadband and connectivity across the state and what that means. And, COVID has really brought to light how the disparities in connectivity to the internet is still out there across the state. And so working on that, I think, is important. And I really think we're going to make some progress in those areas.
Well, I'm excited to see you returning back to the legislature, and because you and I have had such a great friendship, but also working relationship between the city of Austin and your office. You represent all of the Williamson County portion of District 6, which is about half my council district. And I get the joy of working with also newly reelected Representative Goodwin and Representative Israel on the issues of far northwest Austin, and the opportunity for some real change on healthcare, I think, is going to be really valuable for our community, especially if we can get mental health care involved in that conversation and have the state return to a level of involvement that really historically is where those solutions were born. And now we've pushed all of that into really kind of unstable and insufficient systems. We're doing our best, but man, it'll all work better if we're partners instead of opponents.
Well, and to that point, this is, you just hit on the issue that I think I've tried hard to do, and that's to work with all of our local elected officials. I'm former county party chair. I believe in campaigns and think they matter, But I also think after campaigns, we've got to be able to sit down and work together. And I think you've shown your ability to do that. You mentioned the state reps, but you've done that with your county officials throughout Williamson County, many of them on opposite sides of the party. And I think it shows that you're willing to sit down and have the hard conversations, bring people to the table, talk about how we help our community. And that's why I'm so excited to continue to help you through, your runoff and make sure you get reelected. We need your sensible voice on the council. We need a fighter for our community of District 6, a fighter for Williamson County, and also the Travis County part that you represent. I think when you look at pre-districts, those areas were not looked to as highly as you've done such a good job making sure our voice is heard down at City Hall. And so I'm so excited to help support you get reelected and make sure that you stay there. It's not just partisan. It's you fighting for the people of District 6 and knowing what we need, because you go out into the community, you've gotten to know all of us, and you've done that with the Republican elected leaders in the Republican communities as well. And I know in the campaign, people will say things, but I hear all the time how much people respect how hard you work for all of us.
Well, thank you so much again, Representative Busey, for your support and your endorsement in the reelection runoff. And as a reminder, we'll talk about it several times today, but the runoff election, early voting starts December 3rd, and the runoff election day is December 15th. The polling locations are now getting published, and so everybody in District 6 is going to be able to vote at the Round Rock ISD PAC at McNeil High School, the only 2-county voting site in the state of Texas, and we get to have it again here for the runoff with a few other voting sites for folks. But again, thank you so much, Representative Busey, for your support, and we'll see you on the other side of this runoff.
All right, Councilman, let's get you reelected. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks again to Representative Busey, a 3-time guest on the Clawback. And he's done such great work. I even neglected to congratulate him again on being selected as the top freshman in the caucus, which was a pretty great thing coming out of his first term. He's going to do great work in the second term. Let's bring on our musical guest. I talk about it every week. It is probably the best thing about this show is that we are continuing the focus on live music and doing so through the Clawback and showing that even in a pandemic, it's still the live music capital of the world. So I want to welcome our musical guest today, Barbara Nesbitt. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, how are you?
I am great today. That's the pandemic mantra. We're all going to take it one day at a time, I think. Yeah. How are you doing? How is your family doing? How are you making it through these very crazy times?
Well, I feel the same way. I'm like every minute. Okay, I'm okay this minute. I'm doing well this minute. Right now, I'm perfectly fine because I've had enough coffee to row my little boat to the moon. But aside from that, I'm one of the lucky ones in the pandemic, I think, because I'm already a bit. I'd already been fostering a healthy isolationship for years. I'm an entertainer and I'm very extroverted, but I'm mostly introverted and I spend a lot of time alone already. So that part's okay. And I'm also lucky because I can pick up my guitar and do a live stream. I worry about my extrovert friends and about the drummers and the bass players and the backup singers and the people who can't just pop online and be like, hey guys, here's a show and make a few bucks to help supplement. Well, that's not a supplement. To help have an income at all. I will say that I'm getting to the point where a hug would be really, really welcome.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Virtual hugs to the extent that we can do that, right?
I mean, I'm a hugger anyway, and I really definitely I'm tactile. If you were sitting next to me, I would have already touched you 3-4 times, not in like a hashtag Me Too way, but just in I'm a friendly, tactile person, and I definitely miss that part of my extrovertedness. That's the word.
I feel a lot of that. I feel a lot of that too. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're doing well, and thank you for kind of noting that not everybody in the music community can make it as easily through. We've had folks from IATSE who the union that represents like stage workers and the crew that surround those events, they're obviously not able to do live streams setting up lighting rigs. So it does take a much bigger community effort, but we'll talk more about your live streams at the end. I'm also interested, you have an interesting origin story. I would love it if you could share a little bit about kind of your background and how you got here.
Sure. I'll keep it the Reader's Digest version. I definitely had a very untraditional childhood, which left me homeless around the age of 15 and for a couple of years. I struggled in that. And then I met a bunch of hippie musicians and started playing music with them, and then started touring with them. And all of a sudden that was my life. And my mother had been a musician. I hadn't seen her in a long time, but I guess I got it kind of natural a little bit. Finally, I was nurturing it, and was on tour playing music for years. And then I had a boyfriend who was a pilot, and I fell in love with flying. So I decided to learn how to fly, and I did that and decided I wanted more. So I got my GED and went to college and got a degree in aeronautical science, of all things, with the intent of becoming a commercial airline pilot. And then I finished my degree, and I was like, well, I kind of just like this touring and music stuff. I'm nuts. So I just kept doing that. And my degree is sitting right up there on the wall. And then I have a little award up there that's for my, I was on the flight team in college and won the top pilot of my region. First woman to ever do it. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Being a little braggy. I apologize.
Please.
Music has just been the biggest pull of all the things that have pulled me.
That's so amazing, and congratulations, and really to survive, and then to thrive on top. Like how exciting, and what a great story that we're, as a city, obviously struggling with folks who are unhoused, and
yes.
And what are the right processes and systems to treat folks with dignity. People don't go into this condition because they wanted to be homeless. That's just not how it works.
No.
And we have a responsibility to help every human get to a place where they can thrive. And not everybody's going to take the same path, and not everybody's going to have the same luck that intersects with them and their lives, either the bad luck or the good luck. And it is a constant struggle. But I'm so grateful that you were able to share your story today about how you made it.
I was one of the lucky ones, and I believe me, I have some feelings about the treatment of homelessness and homeless people, and I don't think it's just a responsibility. I think, how do you not have it just in your heart to have the compassion to care about the well-being of other people? You don't know their story. You don't know. Maybe there are some people taking advantage of the system. I've seen it. It happens. But I know way more people that have just really had an unfortunate struggle. And if they had just that one opportunity, that chance to get past this seemingly insurmountable step, that they could thrive to.
Well, thank you for putting that way. And that's always the struggle for policymakers, especially when you're in a re-election campaign against someone who has been very overtly derogatory to those who are unhoused. And it's just not the type of voice that is really going to bring solutions to the table. It's why I'm working so hard to continue to earn the votes of my district in this runoff and continue to do this show. And again, thank you, Barbara, for sharing your story. I'm curious about another story, though. The story behind this.
I was like, what is it? Oh, good.
Here it is.
Okay, that was a good one.
Tell me more.
I had the opportunity with my old band, the Whiskey Sisters, to open up for Willie Nelson at Moody Theater on New Year's Eve a couple of years ago. And I mean, what a moment. And then he brought me up on stage to sing some backup on a few songs. And you can see in this picture, he's looking into my soul. He is looking into my soul. So special. People kept asking leading up to the night, so are you going to smoke pot with Willie Nelson? And my answer invariably was, I don't want to go to the hospital on New Year's Eve. So, no.
Yeah, you don't start your football career in the NFL. I mean, I think that's really the bottom line.
That's right. It was an incredible night. He was very gracious, and I love him. And the only problem with singing with Willie Nelson is, then what? Like, that's pretty much, I've peaked. That's it. There's nothing better than that. So I might as well.
I can't promise you being as good as singing with Willie Nelson, but you are here to perform, at least for a council member and my audience, and I'm very grateful that you're willing to do that. Why don't you tell us what you've prepared and take it away?
Okay, all right. Dun dun dun! I've prepared a ukulele because
I love it.
Well, this pandemic struck, and I was writing, some dark songs. And one morning I woke up and I said, you know what? I got to write something peppy. I got to write something positive, something hopeful. And so I picked up the ukulele because that is a really good way to start off if you want to write something peppy and hopeful. And so here it is. All right. I'm going to lean back because, you know, it's a ukulele. You got to be comfortable and relaxed. I want to walk in the woods with you. I want to eat something good with you, right next to you. I want to go on the road with you. I want to see every other zip code with you, right next to you. I want to throw my arms around your neck. I want to give you my shoulder when life's a wreck. I want to go to the park with you. I want to make my mark with you, right next to you. I want to picnic names with you. I want to play board games with you, right next to you. I want to throw my arms around your neck. I want to give you my shoulder when life's a wreck. I want to sing some songs with you. I want to right some wrongs with you, right next to you. I want to eat ice cream with you. I want to dream daydreams with you, right next to you. I want to throw my arms around your neck. I want to give you my shoulder when life's a wreck. I still haven't come up with an ending to that one.
Yay!
Every time I rock back and forth, you can see just a little bit of my cat down there, too.
That was so beautiful and just kind of joyful. Gosh, don't we need that right now?
Yes,
We
it's
really
like,
do.
It's kind of a bittersweet song, really. It's like, I'm waiting. I'm going to do all these things with, well, somebody. I'm pathologically single, so I'm not sure who that's going to be yet. But we'll find out.
Hope springs eternal, Barbara. Hope springs eternal.
That is my line. That is my line. Shut up.
I love it. Well, thank you again so much for sharing your music with us today. Why don't you tell the folks where they can find your music and if you've got any live shows coming up?
All right. So, yeah, I've got a live stream on my Facebook page this Sunday at 5 p.m. our time, Texas time. And BarbaraNesbitt.com is pretty much where you can find everything else. You can get my music. I have a brand new album out called Someday Maybe Sooner. And putting a record out in the pandemic is interesting. But I'd love for you to go to my website, get a CD for yourself or a friend. Also, I've got a Patreon page you can find on my website where you can get some new music from me, videos, things I call thoughtlets, which are the crazy things I think about being alone for so long. And you get to hear them for as little as $2 a month. But BarbaraNesbitt.com is kind of where you can find all the things.
Awesome. Well, everybody go check that out. Barbara, thank you so much for sharing your music and your time with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me and good luck.
Thank you. Really excellent. God, it's such a great mix of music. Credit again to my team who are finding all these great Austin musicians to come and share their music with us today. Another great one in Barbara Nesbitt. So let's bring on our last guest. Excited to talk to him and close out the show today. Roger Cauvin with the Friends of Austin Neighborhoods. Hi, Roger.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you doing today?
You know, I'm good, right? Today we're good. It's a Friday. I think Friday still means something somewhere, maybe. All of life through our computer screens like a video game nonetheless. But how are you doing? How is your family? Everybody safe and healthy during this pandemic?
We're some of the lucky ones. We get to work from home, my wife and I. We have jobs that allow us to do that. And we're not essential workers. We're throwaway workers. So we're lucky in that regard, I guess. And 2020 has been a interesting times, but there have actually been some good things that have happened in 2020. So I can't say that 2020 has been all bad. It's just been a little bit stressful.
That is understatement of the century there, Roger. The Friends of Austin Neighborhoods, of course, I know a lot about it, and I've been very fortunate to work with you all and in kind of common cause, trying to make sure that we have the neighborhoods sufficient to support all the folks in our community that want to live in our amazing city. But why don't you tell folks what is the Friends of Austin Neighborhoods?
So Friends of Austin Neighborhoods is a coalition of neighborhood association members as well as individual members throughout the city. And our mission is to reclaim the word neighborhood to include the full diversity of voices. So we've had, I guess back in 2015, I'm a co-founder of Friends of Austin Neighborhoods, and as well as the current treasurer. And back around 2015 and really before 2015, a lot of us had sort of noticed that the dialogue around neighborhoods was sort of one-sided. And so, we would go to City Hall, testify before council or whatever, and we'd find that some of the city council people, some of the people some of the other people testifying would talk about the neighborhoods as if they were some monolithic entities that all have the same opinions. And generally the opinions, the stereotype was that they are against things. They are against new and diverse housing in neighborhoods and things like that. So that's why we formed Friends of Austin Neighborhoods, was to create a group that could champion the idea that neighborhood voices are more than just people who want to quote unquote protect their neighborhoods, but also people who want to improve their neighborhoods and include more people in their neighborhoods.
I've been struck so often by how you in District 6 has so many good examples of kind of mixed housing in a neighborhood. And Andersonville, I always like to talk about Andersonville neighborhood because it is kind of a nice encapsulated neighborhood that has a pretty clear identity, and they even have their own elected officials. They have a limited district, and inside the Andersonville neighborhood, you have apartment complexes, you have kind of condo developments, you have old ones, you have new ones, and when I talk to folks in the neighborhood, it benefits greatly from having this diverse and kind of not diverse racially, culturally, mixed income neighborhoods. It just makes everything a little bit more richer and the community a little bit more kind of holistic. And I'm always struck by how the community has gravitated to its own solutions. We have at least one condo development in the Andersonville neighborhood that is on some level kind of a makeshift senior facility because so many folks have gravitated to it. And now they have this beautiful little culture and community. But when that same type of development is proposed in, say, Central Austin or in some other parts of town, it becomes this like end of the world scenario, when in reality, it's precisely the type of housing that folks, when they're empty nesters, when they have more front backyard than they need, but they like the community they're in. How do you have neighborhoods that evolve and shift and grow with the people who are there now? You don't even always have to talk about the folks who are coming next. Even the folks who are there now need housing, and those housing needs change over time. We could spend a lot of time talking about this, Roger, and Lord knows we have. But I'm curious, what fans' take is, what your priorities are heading into 2021.
Sure. So up to now, a lot of the fan priorities have focused on land use, and as you know, there has been several years in the making a land development code rewrite, because we want to see the more abundant and diverse housing to enable more and diverse families to enrich our lives, as you said, within our neighborhoods. But beyond that, when we're looking into 2021, we're seeing on the horizon, or we're seeing currently actually proposals from TxDOT, Texas Department of Public of Transportation, proposals to widen I-35. So that's going to be on our radar. Previously, fans membership has supported a vision for I-35 that puts a sort of more of a boulevard on top of it, with potentially lowering it. But I think we're going to be that issue is now front and center for us, and will probably be so going into 2021. So there's that one. We're also looking increasingly at historic preservation. There is some level of concern around historic preservation turning neighborhoods into museums instead of places that more families can enjoy. So one of our leaders, neighborhood leaders, has actually talked about living neighborhoods and trying to make sure that we treat our neighborhoods not as museums, but more like living neighborhoods. And so we'll probably be tackling the issue of historic preservation at some point in 2021 as well. Beyond that, we're looking to activate more neighbors to engage and advocate for better and more inclusive communities or neighborhoods, because this sort of with COVID and things like that, where the engagement is a little bit different now than it used to be. And so we're trying to ramp that up again. That's one of our goals for 2021, and really enable neighbors to, instead of relying on organizations to advocate for what they want, being empowered to do it themselves, not feeling intimidated about the idea of going to City Hall either virtually or in person, and advocating for what they want.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are continuing your advocacy. It is a challenge in a pandemic to keep folks engaged and find ways to reach people. And I'm glad you brought up I-35. I think there's a lot of really important work to be done about that. District 6 especially is, I think, rightfully doubtful about the I-35 project, in part because our 620 projects were canceled in order to help close the funding gap on I-35. And as exciting as new transit service is, and there's going to be some pretty significant new transit service coming to the city of Austin, it ain't coming to 620. And so, getting roadway improvements on 620 is the only way to improve mobility out there. But I-35 is crisscrossed with mobility options and future corridors and future investments that, you just wonder, are we going to spend billions and billions and billions on a road we already have that will still be full, when there are so many other investments that I think can be prioritized. Nonetheless, regional decisions are often made regionally, and this is one of those cases, but hopefully we can make that project work as best as we can. And Roger, I also want to thank you for your personal advocacy, but your organization's endorsement in my reelection. Obviously, we are just 2 weeks away from the start of early vote, less than 2 weeks away from the start of early vote, and we need folks who are friends of your own neighborhood to know that you got to go back and vote one more time, and you got to vote for me. And that's what we got to do in December.
Yeah. Well, our membership, the way we do sort of endorsements or expressions of support is through online voting. And we had a very powerful supermajority that voted to support you in District 6. And you had provided, and the other council candidates had provided answers to a questionnaire. And I think some of those answers were pretty powerful and really aligned well with positions that fans membership has taken in the past. So, you know, and I would just add to that, you know, as a general rule, I think there's a recognition that you're not afraid to tackle controversial issues and boldly stand up for principles when maybe some of the other city council members are a little bit timid. And also sort of a fiscal responsibility and general responsible management of priorities and spending has been something that I've noticed as well.
Well, thank you for noticing that, Roger. In Austin, it is not always easy to do both of those things. And I do my best because I am very fortunate to represent a district that also believes we can solve and tackle the hard problems, and we can also do it in a fiscally responsible way. And so thanks again for your work and for fans' work and for your expression of support, if that's what you call it, if you guys call it.
Absolutely,
we'll take it. Thank you so much, Roger. And thank you for coming on the show today. And before you leave, like how can folks get involved with FAN?
Sure. We have a website, www.atxfriends.org. There's a quick sign up form there in case somebody wants to become a member. And it's free. Membership is free, as well as we are on Twitter at ATXFriends, ATXFRIENDS.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roger.
All right. Thanks, Jimmy.
Really good work making sure that there are diverse voices at the table, trying to do the best job we can in the city of Austin. That's our show today. Thanks again to Representative Busey, to Barbara Nesbitt, to Roger Cauvin for joining the show. I wanted to pull one thing up before we go. You know, we're talking about the runoff election. Let me get my little runoff dates going along the bottom. Like I said, early voting starts December 3rd. There are different voting times in Williamson County than Travis County. So I wanted to show my website because I have all of this information on jimmyflanagan.com. You can see this webpage, jimmyflanagan.com/reelect. You can see you can donate to the campaign. That would be a huge help, but you can also sign up to volunteer, help us talk to more voters, and then you can click here and see all of the voting information that's been published so far, the early voting locations in Travis County and Williamson County, the times and places where you can vote. Like we said earlier with Representative Busey, all of District 6 is able to vote at McNeil High School at the PAC starting on December 3rd. And the other thing I wanted to show you can see, not just on this Reelect page, where you can see all of the work we've done, all of the forums that we've had, all of the advocacy that we do, and the solutions that we've brought to the district, but you can also see here a little more specifically on the issues of public health, homelessness, and public safety, exactly what it is that my plan is for District 6, and ultimately why my opponent cannot be trusted to have this seat and to lead this community through the next 4 years. So I hope that I have continued to earn your support, District 6. We just got to make sure everybody goes out and votes one more time starting in December. Thank you again to my guests for joining the show. And everybody have a happy and safe and socially, physically distanced Thanksgiving.